Hey, what's going on, everybody on YouTube? Hope you all are having an excellent Tuesday night. I'm your host, Lawrence Watkins. I'm the President and Chief Operating Officer of Voice Watkins Enterprises in the Black Business School. So today I have a very special guest, and this topic is extremely close to my heart since me and my wife have lived it. But I'm here with Chizzy Igbokwe, and Chizzy's going to talk to you today about creating a pathway to freedom, a pathway to getting your passport, even multiple passports, maybe. I don't even know if she's going to talk about that, time and location freedom for world exploration. She's a global career strategist. So she specializes in helping others become free from the day-to-day drudgery of their specific location, their specific job, and opens up new pathways and new opportunities worldwide to help others live the life that they want to live in terms of their own lifestyle design. So Chizzy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. Can you tell the audience, what it is that you do?
Absolutely. So I specialize in helping people take their talents to the global stage. So what that means is it doesn't matter whether you want to be an entrepreneur or if you want to continue with a 9 to 5 or any type of job. It's really, how do I take this and make it international? I remember speaking at a high school, and one of the kids was like, I want to be a food critic. And I said, well, what if you can be a food critic critiquing Italian food in Italy? And she raised her head from the desk and was like, I can do that. And she had lost her voice that day, so she barely said it. And so really just understanding that whatever you can do it internationally. And I really help people navigate what that path looks like. And the most important thing is the best path for them. A lot of times we're like, well, I don't want to teach English abroad. I've heard a lot of people say that. They think that's the only option. And as you know, like in the US, if you are in college, you can easily study abroad. And what happens after that? Nothing. You're just like, well, let me Google a whole bunch of things. So I help make sure that you're not spending years and years the way I did, Googling things like work abroad, international jobs abroad, digital nomad life. And I'll show you what to focus your time and energy on and how to make sure that you're not overwhelmed by the process. Because there's a lot of information out there and it's hard to understand what to focus on. So that's where I come in.
Yeah, and it really is difficult to understand, what to focus on. But before we get into that, actually, like, why should people even consider living abroad? I hear from a lot of people, especially men, Black men, in terms of not all, me. There's a few other people down here in Medellin who have taken that leap to move internationally. But why should people even consider moving, away from their comfort zone in the United States and move to, whether South America, move to, Africa, move to Asia, or just move to somewhere else in the world?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. I never tell someone that they should move abroad, but I do believe that anyone who already loves to travel has that little thing inside of them that's like, man, I wish I could do more of this. Man, I wish I didn't have, I'm sure you've heard people say this, I wish I didn't only have 10 measly days of vacation time. And then they start divvying up their trips to, if I take 3 trips a year, 4 days at a time, I could add some days onto the back end of MLK Day. Don't have to let you know. So it becomes, if I do Thursday to Monday 5 times a year, I'm good. And I'm of the belief of abundance. Like, you can choose the environment you want to live in. So after work, you can say, oh, I'm going to Sweden this weekend. Out, maybe I'm going to, like where you are, you can go to probably, I don't know, is Panama close enough to you to go for the day? Maybe, right? So depending on your region, really being able to choose your environment and what that looks like. And I believe we all have unlimited access to the world. So it's not why should you, it's if you already have this desire and the travel, like the vacation is not enough. I'll say this, when you live abroad and you experience life as a local, it's a totally different experience. It's truly transformative. And I've seen not just myself, but other fellow expats, other fellow digital nomads really become the best version of themselves, right? Because there's something really powerful about being in Colombia and saying, what's it like to be a 30-something-year-old and ride the metro system, ride the subway, or whatever their equivalent of Uber is? What are the local foods? Outside of the sites, what does it look like what do I do at like 6 p.m. after work? What do we do on weekends? You have a family. What does family friendly look like here? And so when you're able to do that, you're really living in abundance because you're no longer trying to squeeze in, 18 different sites to get some beautiful Instagram pictures, to not really be present. And you really you experience the world as God meant for us to experience it. And I truly believe that's the power of living abroad, like humanity at its finest.
Yeah, and I love the way that you explained that, and especially the importance of you deciding what you want to do with your own time. I know, so me and my wife, we've been married for 3.5 years now, and when we first, started dating, she couldn't understand why I never wanted to go on vacation, right? Like I couldn't, and for me, I had been a nomad. I had this flexible lifestyle of business ownership since I was 23 years old. And right like when I started, the book 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss came out, and that is the book that actually changed my life. And she would just wonder, like, why does he want to go to Jamaica with me, or why does he want to do this or do that? And I couldn't just imagine spending thousands and thousands of dollars going somewhere for a week when I know that my entire budget for living in different places of the world would be that exact amount that we would spend in a 5-day vacation or something like that. So it wasn't until she became an entrepreneur that she really started to understand the things that I was trying to teach and preach earlier in our relationship. And I think that just people, you don't know what you don't know, right? But that's your job, and that's what you do, is helping to teach people what is it they don't know. So like if someone wanted to live like this type of lifestyle in terms of just being able to travel, being able to have location freedom, being able to have time freedom, being able to have passport freedom, like what should they know, like even before they even get started going down this path?
That's a great question. So people usually just jump into flight deals and visa requirements and passport requirements, and those things are important. What I've learned the hard way is before you even do any of that stuff, the number one thing that you have to do, or you get to do, is create the vision for yourself. And so what that looks like is whatever you want it to, right? So we're usually so caught up in, I'll say it best, I've lived in 5 countries, and one of them is Paris, France. And I remember being a grad student and loving it. And then after that, I was like, where do I want to go next? And I had all these options. And part of me was like, well, let me go to like Spain or London, or let me go. And I would only go to I would only think about going to very like cosmopolitan first world places. So the first thing you should do is really understand, like, what do you really want versus what you think you should want? And that goes back to not what country you should go to, what kind of experience do you want to have? So when you think about that vision, it's okay, if you already have kids, do you want your kids to know other locals, or do you want them to have experiences with other expats that are from around the world? Do you want them to play sports? Okay, if that's the case, you might want to think about what's the sports system like out there? Because if they want to get a scholarship, you might have to consider like, this is not really competitive enough. And so by a certain age, you move them back to the US. And then like, what kind of experiences do you want to have in terms of like your environment? On weekends, do you want to go to another country for a day and it's no big deal and it's less than $100? Or do you want to like fully deep dive into whatever country you're in and always be in warm weather and never have to wear a sweater or a winter coat ever again? So
and that's
really,
me right there.
Right. I'm surprised you have this blazer. I thought you would.
I know, right? I'm hot over here.
Right. You can take it off at any point. We will understand. And so really understanding or allowing yourself to create that vision. I'll never forget when I heard Jack Canfield say, a lot of people spend their time climbing up a ladder and then realize that that ladder was leaned up against the wrong wall. And so by wrong, it's really, it wasn't your own authentic vision. Not that it was right and wrong. It was somebody else's. It was family. It was parents. It was your friends. This is what my peers are doing. This is what I should be doing. And that's really the most important step. Otherwise, you'll do all this work and you get to Maybe you get to Paris, France, and you kind of hate it because you're like, I thought it was supposed to be amazing. Well, amazing for who? My vision, it was amazing, but maybe for you, you're like, no thanks.
Mm-hmm.